Hello, this is High Priestess Key 333 coming to do your planetary alignment messages or discussion of astrology, warnings and what you need to know in reference of the Vedic and the true Sidereal. I like to touch on both and combine them both as I've been learning more and more about astrology. I am growing and learning more and more daily in reference of astrology. I resonate with the true sidereal and the Vedic. Both of them pretty much are like this Eastern astrology. Um, it's just a few little, differences. Nakshatras in Vedic versus true sidereal uses straight planetary alignment. Um, but the combination of spiritual astrology with the Eastern astrology definitely is what the ancestors have told me is exactly what it should be to give us the specifics and the forecast of what it truly is versus the Western astrology. The Western astrology, a lot of people resonate with that because that's all they taught us, right? Just like we're programmed to believe a lot of the other delusions and illusions and deceptive things in this earthly plane, right? And in this lifetime. But if you do your research, if you tap into the knowledge of the ancient ancestors, you will see that that is truly what it is, what's actually in the visible sky. Okay, and what they use. All right. Okay, I do have my retainer in, so if you hear me talking a little different, that is why. Okay. So I'm going to tap on a little bit of everything in this video. So it may be a little bit longer than the normal, but that's okay. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. So if I miss some things, that is why. Okay. But I'm going to try to hit on going into the full moon, which I'm going to do a separate reading and video on the full moon. So I may not spend a lot of time on the full moon with this video. Okay. Even though it is coming on July the 10th. All right. And July the 10th, the full moon in the true sidereal, it takes place in Sagittarius, although they'll tell you it takes place in Capricorn. Okay. And that's at 4:30. All right. So we'll get into that at a different time. But this video is about the planetary alignments and how structural chaotic it is right now. Okay. I'm just going to run through the planetary alignment right now today, which is July the 3rd, early in the morning. The sun is still in Gemini at 17 degrees. The moon is in Virgo right now at 26 degrees. Mars is in Leo at 15 degrees. Mercury is in Cancer at 13 degrees. Jupiter is in Gemini at 11 degrees. Venus is in Taurus at 4 degrees. And Saturn is in Pisces at 7 degrees. Rahu is in Aquarius at 26 degrees. Neptune is in Pisces at 7 degrees. Pluto is in, and Rahu is in retrograde. Pluto is in retrograde as well in Capricorn at 8 degrees. Uranus in Taurus at 5 degrees. Chiron in Aries at 2 degrees. And K2 is retrograde as well, but it's in Leo at 26 degrees. I like to go through the planetary alignment with you guys. I will show you guys a little piece of what, hold on, let me present it. Sorry, family. Share my screen. Hold on. Okay, wait a minute. Let me pull it up so you can see. Here it is. Okay. So I always like to show you guys this because this is the Sky Live. The Sky Live is what you can take a telescope out and you can look right in the sky to see exactly where these planets lie. Okay, it does have a map tracker. It has where you can go out there and click on this and you can see exactly where it is in the sky for each planet. Now, it won't go through all the planets I just gave you, but we're going to touch on that as well. The sun is in Gemini. As I always tell you guys, this is why I am still a Gemini sun in the true sidereal and in the Vedic, because when I took my first breath here on this earth, this is where the planetary alignment laid. Okay. That's why I say I'm truly a Gemini sun. Okay. Because my birthday was this week. So the moon is in Virgo and I am a Virgo moon. Okay. So see how you can, the truth is the truth is the truth, family. There is no change in that. And you get to this energy and this message based off of your birthright, which is your birth date when you were born. Okay. That's why the true Sidereal and the Vedic in the Eastern astrology is more accurate. Okay. So the moon is in Virgo, which my moon is in Virgo. Mercury is in Cancer. You pretty much can see my full chart. That's what's so funny about this. My full chart is what it is right now in the true Sidereal, which is what I'm showing you. This is like my full chart, allegedly. But I'm just telling you. So the truth is the truth is the truth. Everything, planetary alignment goes around this earth, family. And when we took our first breath is where the planets lay. That's why I don't understand why people don't resonate more with true sidereal and Vedic astrology, because it's more accurate with your moon and with your I'm just gonna say with your moon. Somebody can accurately in the Vedic and in the true sidereal tell you exactly about your life. Period. And the numerology. What's on your wheel? Okay, so back to oh, sorry, family. Okay, so Mercury in Cancer, Venus in Taurus, Mars is in Leo, like I told you, Jupiter is in Gemini, Saturn is in Pisces, Uranus is in Taurus, Neptune is in Pisces. I like to just show you guys this so you can actually see it without me having to, tell you. And then if you go out here, this is where I was telling you, you could actually see it in the sky. See the moon, okay? And you see like the Virgo energy right here. You can see it all there, and you can see the Virgo energy there as well. So we know it's definitely in Virgo, okay? So yeah, family. So I just like to show you guys this type of thing so you can actually see that you can go out here and pull this information too. Okay. You can go out here and pull this information as well. All right. It is not far-fetched. Okay. It is not far-fetched. Um, you just have to do your due diligence, right? Do your research and so forth. So since I showed you what it is in the sky, I told you about the planetary alignment and where it is right now. Let's talk about some of the transits that's going to make things get a little crazy for this month of July. The month of July is definitely a time where July, it undergoes a lot in reference of Jupiter and Mars and Saturn and Mercury retrogrades and all these different planetary alignments, family, right? Um, and so it makes up major situations for the collective because we are here on this earth amongst the planetary alignment, because the planetary alignment is what's happening within the, which goes around the planet earth of what we're on, but you control the outcome. So even though the planetary alignment is moving around and creating all these different um, energies, right, of what's happening and what's to come and all these different things, you control the outcome regardless. Okay. So that's why we have the ability to shift energy. That's why we have the ability to work with the moon phases. And it's the best thing that you should be doing. In this lifetime, you should be working with the moon phases, the new moon, the full moon, the crescent waxing, the crescent waning, the gibbous waxing, the gibbous waning, not just the full moon. And you should be fluctuating with all the phases. The new moon and the full moon is just the peaks, the strongest energy, which is the best. But I work with all the different energies, right, of the moon phases. Powerful. Okay. So So make sure you're checking out Mastering the Zodiac if you're into True Sidereal. I love his site. I actually am I'm going to try to invest in getting my software back with him. I love that software. So if you want to donate, please, okay, because that will help me to get my software back with him. I want to actually buy the actual full-fledged software. Right now, I just had the temporary one. It was like, I think they give you like 60 days or so forth, and you can try it out like that and so forth. And I think I showed you guys before I had the software, but now I'm just using the Sky Live. So I would love to get that software back because I love his channel. I love True Sidereal is that's where pretty much when I resonated with the spiritual astrology that the ancestors give us, it took me back to the True Sidereal as well. And I compared them both based off of the wheel and the ladder, and it came to fruition. So I love that. But he does like a newsletter, and that newsletter went over a lot in reference of the 6 months in review, which I love, right? But I was going to come and talk to you guys about it, but I just going to give you some of the highlights of what he pointed out, which goes back to how Mars entered into Leo in May, right? And then, of course, Saturn into Pisces in late February. And then we had Venus retrograde in late February. Mercury retrograde was overlapping in mid-March and April, which we're getting ready to have another one come around. We're actually in the shadow of it as of June 29th of another Mercury retrograde. Jupiter entered into Gemini on the 29th, I want to say, at the end of June. I'm sorry, early June, okay? Venus actually exited Pisces, that's what it was, at June 29th and went into Taurus. I think it's in Taurus now. Yeah, Venus is in Taurus. And it went into Aries and then went into Taurus. My fault. But anywho, with all that change, and Neptune into Pisces, right? And so we had some solar eclipses in Pisces in early April. We had a lunar eclipse in Virgo in late March. All of this is True Sidereal that I'm speaking of, right? I'm not speaking of Western astrology, okay? But all of those were transits that we had in this year coming up to where we are now. The forecast in reference of the Vedic family, right, takes me back to talking to you guys about the nakshatras. I always get mixed up when I'm trying to speak the nakshatras with you guys, right? But the nakshatras, I hope I'm saying it right, but I always nakshatras. I got my retainer in, so it may sound a little slurry, right? But the nakshatras definitely takes us into knowing the aspect of the strength behind the planetary alignment for the Vedic. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, family, I'm looking at my screen and talking to you guys, right? So like right now, the sun is in Adra, right? Which they talk about, that's known of having being symbolism of the teardrop. And when you think of that, you think of the teardrop, you think of somebody crying, some anguish, some pain in some shape, form, or fashion within that Gemini energy, because that's where the sun is still sitting. Well, it's at 82% completion. But actually, the ruling planet of that nakshatra, Adra, that we're in now, and I was actually born into that nakshatra. It's Rahu, right? And Rahu is very intense energy as well, just like Ketu, right? So yeah, so that's why we're going through a lot of this energy that you're feeling at this time. I do want to go through some of the changes. The main change I want to go through is the Mars transit. Mars went into Leo June 7th and will be there until July 28th. Mars energy in Leo family is very, very action-based, leaderships, wars, things of that sort that I talked to you guys about, right? And it is a time that could create a lot of havoc for the collective, okay? Um, it can create situations that are harsh, okay? But it also can bring like new beginnings. It's always duality. Never forget that, right? It just depends on how the planetary alignment lies. With all the different planets, it plays into that as well. Taurus and Venus helps it, right? Jupiter in Gemini helps it, but Jupiter is also blinded in some of that aspect of what we're going through. When I say that, it's like covered, but then it'll be revealed again, and we'll get into that some more too. But Jupiter is weak, right? And it indicates that actually being a little bit continuous until later on in the month, but from July the 5th through the 9th, which today is the 3rd. So that's why I came today to kind of give you the aspect, because July is going to be very strenuous for us, and some of August as well. But it's in some of my research that I've done, I like to look at a lot of the forecasts on the Vedic as well. So I'm going to go over some of these dates with you guys. From July the 5th to the 9th, it says Jupiter will be in a fateful degrees of, now this one is hard to pronounce, but it's like Merutak, Marutagag. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that is a difficult planet. So, and that's in this, Gemini is in, Jupiter is in Gemini. So that's a sign of things connected to our technology, to our communication. So if it's in that strong energy from the 5th to the 9th family, and I'm telling you that it's going to be very strenuous in reference of that energy, right? Let me tell you exactly where it's going to be. Let's see, the 5th. Okay, the 5th. Yeah, and that's still Audra. The Jupiter is going to be in. Okay, Mars is in Pruva Paguni. Pruva Paguni, right? And I know these all sound like Spanglish to some of you, but these are all nakshatras that are in um, the Vedic. And the nakshatras are the energy. It's like the birth star, right? It divides the planet's energies up into divisions of nakshatras to explain to you the changes and the navigations in reference of our challenges, the things that we need to see, opportunities of clarity. Okay, that's what it shows in reference of these nakshatras. It's like the movement of the constellations, okay? And it gives you more detail. It tells you about, when this planetary alignment moves in this area, this is that strength. That's down to the degrees and so forth in the Vedic. So the Vedic is like, the true sidereal is what is in the sky, right? The Vedic to the true sidereal, to me, this is the way I look at it, right? The Vedic is a more detailed, in depth, right? Knowledge of the planetary alignment, down to the degree, down to the energy, down to you can predict the day, okay, in the month, right? Just like we would do if we were looking at your birth date. That's why I try to tell everyone your birth date is your will. You should be doing things based off of that, right? Because that is what puts you on specific rims and so forth. But we'll talk about that in another video. But I just wanted to tell you guys about these nakshatras so you can understand why I'm saying them, right? Okay. So the main thing of them all, family, what I wanted you to know is that July is a time where there will be a lot of obstructions, interruptions, and a lot of it. I have also some dates that I want to tell you in reference of not no travel needs to be done on these dates, but also, July is a significant time where there could be like resources and support and all these things that we're seeing in the political arena, things being restricted, because Saturn and Neptune are conjunct. Saturn is about restrictions, Neptune is about karma. All of these things come full circle. Saturn is about power, but Saturn is about money as well. Saturn is about constraints. Saturn is about limitations. Neptune is about karma. What you do, you will get right back. Neptune is about technology as well. See how the restriction in technology? So there will be, and I've said this in many of my world readings on the big channel, allinthecards.com, how we'll see a lot of cyber attacks, a lot of technology situations, a lot of the things about the grid going down, and it may, but definitely cyber attacks. So Jupiter in Audra and in that Gemini energy, because Gemini is about communication, right? And about technology and all that stuff. Plus Rahu in Aquarius, which Aquarius is about definitely that. And then on top of that, having Mars there, you know what I'm saying? In Leo, it's aggressive times. It's aggressive times. Okay. So this energy will free up like mid-August, where Jupiter leaves Audra. You see that intense pain with the teardrop, right? Yeah. So just know that July, right? In July, the moon gonna move through a lot of different nakshatras, right? I'm not gonna go through everyone, but just know that the moon is in weak points during this first part of when I told you like the 5th through the 9th. So, you know, it moves through Scorpio. It's going to move through Sagittarius. Remember I told you that? So it's going to move through all these different planet signs during the next few days up and through the 9th, right? But like on the 6th and the 7th, it will move through Scorpio on the 6th, where it's going to be a little weak. So it's going to be more of a time of you needing to rest, but also connecting with your ancestors, because Scorpio is about, you know, they're very prone to being able to connect with spirit and the dead. That's what Scorpio energy is all about. But also the Scorpio energy is about the messenger of lies. So we could hear a lot of things that comes out in reference of people speaking about things that have been deceptive. It's also about Chiron energy. Chiron is in Aries, which is still back to that fiery energy, okay, to heal people wounds. So it's a good time for you during those times to use candle magic and so forth to do your energy work. That moon moving through that is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. That means things will start changing. Okay, things will start changing. Then we're moving into the, you know, the 7th and the 8th of July, where the nakshatra is on Anuduha nakshatra, where the moon would transit through that up in, you know, through that Monday and going into the first part of the week, right? And the moon also receives the aspect of Venus in Taurus, which is Venus in Taurus is good about like friendships, harmony, love, luxury, money, those type of things. So it'll kind of like, plus it's also the 12th waxing lunar day, which 12 is Europa. So it's about your physical needs and things that you truly need to be working on and that type of thing. 7 is Phobos. So that 7th of July is all about your money, your communication, business. You know, it'd be good time to do things around business, clean your act up around your work, you know, schedules and things like that. Even your relationships, right? Could be, you know, a little bit smoother then. But moving into that Thursday, which is July the 10th, which is the full moon. That full moon is in Sidereal, Sagittarius, Western Capricorn. But it's in the Sidereal Sagittarius in Puva Ashadha Nakshatra, Vedic, okay, 4:30 Eastern time. That will be a day of honoring your spiritual ancestors, a spiritual teacher, you honoring your spiritual knowledge that you've learned as well. It is a good time with Sagittarius energy. We know Sag energy is the third, right? The three, right? So we know that's about, it's a good time to work with Archangel Gabriel as well. Okay. If you want to work with that angel on the full moon, that is a great time to help you get through that Saturn energy, because Sagittarius energy is connected to Saturn in the spiritual astrology. Okay, I know it sounds crazy, but this is not Western that I'm talking about. Okay, so um, but this will be a good time. It's the law of correspondence around this energy. Okay, and if you look at it in reference of the truth, and if you look at it in reference of the Western, then you're thinking about the law of relativity, which everything is relative, which is okay to think of it that way, because that's just letting you know that you just have to know that everything is relative, which also goes back to mercy and understanding. So you need to understand that this is a good time for you to be doing your repentance. This is a good time for you to work on things that are external to you, your external vibrations, to raise things up. All right. This is a time where you should be working on seeking alignment between the spiritual law, and your spiritual law and the law that's here on earth, the way that it is governed. So the law of correspondence goes back to being able to balance the physical world and the spiritual world. So the ancestors is saying this is a wonderful time for you to be working on those type things, especially in the nakshatra that it is. Now, the ninth sign in the zodiac is the Saturn, is Sagittarius. So that Sagittarius energy being the ninth sign in the zodiac, is nine, is about court legal situations. So we could see some legal things come up. That is a time where we could see some energy around justice, success, money, relationships with mothers and daughters and things like that. We'll see all of that rise. And if so, you need to be working on that. It's the buck moon, which, I don't get into what they call those in the Western, but it's all about some type of the deer, right? The male symbolizes the buck. It's a male deer. And we know deer, that could be your spirit animal. So work with that as well. But Sagittarius is also known as the golden child. They have a lot of energy around being impacted, right? So your spiritual gifts will come online a lot around that time as well. If they're not already, you're already tapping in. The main thing I wanted to go into, because I don't want to get too much into the moon, because I'm going to talk on more about it later on. So we're going to go on the rest of the month. In July 13th, Saturn will retrograde in the sidereal of Pisces, in the lunar mansions of Uttar Bhadra Nakshatra until November the 27th. Okay, so from the July 13th to the 27th. Now, this is in the true sidereal, okay? And in the Vedic. When Saturn retrogrades, it becomes more powerful, okay? It's already going to be conjuncting with Neptune as well. And I need to find that for you guys as well to give you that detail. Right now, you just need to know on the 4th of July as well. Let me go back. The first quarter moon was on July the 2nd, which was yesterday. That first quarter moon was about you setting your intentions and taking action into making a decision of things that you need to do in your life. Okay. If you haven't already done that, you can still do it. That energy is still potent. Okay. Moving into the full moon. But also the 4th of July on this Friday, Venus conjuncts Uranus. That's something you need to know before I go into detail about Saturn and retrograde. Venus conjuncts Uranus on the 4th this weekend. So Friday. So Venus and Uranus is aligned in, both of them are in Taurus. And we know Taurus takes us back to earth, right? The law of inspired actions. You may be very inspired to do things, go places, talk to people, be around people. You may be inspired. Inspiration will come when you are when you know who you are, so you know what it is that you want to do. Maybe this is a halfway point, right? This is a lot of fiery energy, a lot of water energy. So you may be very emotionally driven to know exactly what it is that you want to do in some shape, form, or fashion. This is goes back, Taurus goes back to Venus energy as well. So we have that Venus in its primary segment, which is Taurus. Taurus is connected to Venus in the spiritual astrology, not in the Western. But this goes back to letting us know that this is also about the ancient ancestors. This is a wonderful time for you to do something nice for your ancestors, put something out on your altar. Give them the foods that they want on this weekend. When y'all cooking and doing all this celebrating for the United States date of celebratory, celebrate your ancestors that day on the 4th, okay? Because 4 is about trauma, okay? It's moon energy. And that's a good time for you to really be doing that. Matter of fact, let me see what the moon will be in on the 4th, okay? Because we didn't even talk about that. Let's see where the moon is going to be on the 4th. Okay, let's see. It's going to be in the Swati. Okay, Rahu energy still. Okay, but that's a good time for you to be tapping in with your ancestors. It only, the moon only stays in a sign, like a day or so or whatever. But this is a good time for you to tap in, family, okay, to that energy of the moon on the 4th. Because like I said, that's the retrograde that's coming in. I'm sorry, that's the Venus conjunct Uranus. And Uranus is also 22, bring you back down to the number 4, but Venus is 3. So letting us know that that's still that moon energy that's around it as well, but it's some trickery behind there. So there could be some energy of some trauma and drama on the 4th of July for the collective. Venus conjuncts Uranus. So that's the trickery manipulation that comes forward in the low vibrational energy of some deception. So you understand why I said July is very crazy month? You know what I'm saying? It gives a lot. And then Taurus is about leaders. Again, so not only just Mars being in Leo still, but then we have Venus conjunct Uranus. So that's treacherous energy. Remember, Tauruses can be still disrespectful, aggressive, anger, out of alignment, envious, prideful, right? All of these things about that Venus and conjunct Uranus. Okay, so we got to be very careful with that type of energy. Uranus ain't nothing to F with. Okay. All right, I just want to tell you guys that Uranus is definitely a time where the planetary alignment, you can work with it, but it can also be a distraction. It can disrupt life. That's what Uranus can do, especially with it going head to head with Venus. Okay. So expect the 4th, right? Moving into that 5th to be kind of in an uproar as well. So, I got to tell you, I got to be truthful. Okay, so back to the Saturn that retrogrades in the Sidereal in Pisces on the 13th until the 27th. This is definitely going to give us some major situations, okay? This is, both Saturn as well as the Uttara Bhadrapada sharing means the creation of structures, setting of foundations, property and lands, things that are concrete and practical. So that lets us know during the Saturn retrograde that these areas in life may be turned around, or there could be some situations with property, lands, things like that. Okay. Remember, we said Saturn and Neptune are conjunct each other. I'm sorry. Yeah, conjunct each other. Let me get my notes for that too. I have my notes for Saturn and Neptune written down. Yeah, I think I told you guys about that before too. That's coming close to the 20th of July, but we're gonna get into that. That's why I told y'all this one was gonna be a little long. Okay. So back to the 13th, right? So just before Saturn retrogrades is definitely going to be stationary period that will occur late that night on the 12th. Okay. Now moving into the 16th of July, that's when the sun enters sidereal Cancer. This is when Cancer really moves into being, the energy of Cancer in on the 16th. Now this is for the Vedic sidereal, but for the true sidereal, Cancer doesn't move into. Oh yeah, it does. It moves it on the 17th for the true sidereal, but on the Vedic it moves in there on the 16th. So it's only like a day, in between that time. See how I try to tell you guys, it's like different planets where the planetary alignment lies, but it's normally on the 16th is when Cancer season actually starts. um that's why I'm really not a Cancer sun, right? So that is, Cancer energy is a time of pretty much emotional energy comes about, right? We know that Cancer energy is going to bring in definitely some energy that hopefully can help, in reference of what we've been going through. Let me look at that energy that's on the 16th. The 16th, the sun will be in Punarvasu, okay? And Cancer energy will be coming in on the 16th. Okay, so we do have some shifts to the energy, but it still have Jupiter and Ardra, and we have majority of them of the other signs are kind of moving out of some of the strenuous, because Mars moves into Pruva Paguni, which is more Venus energy, right? But Saturn is still in that, and Neptune is still in that Saturn energy of restrictions and so forth. Okay, so we still have some very intense, and the moon, okay, on the 16th going into the 16th. So on the 18th, moving into the 18th, Mercury goes retrograde in the true sidereal and the Vedic until August the 11th. Okay, so see how the middle of the month it gets a little flexible in reference of the energy, right? And we'll talk about August later, but this is focusing on July, and on the 18th retrograde happens. Okay, Mercury retrograde, and it's in sidereal Cancer. Okay, which is serpent, symbolized by the Nakshatra Ashleisha. Ashleisha, which I have talked about before, which is the serpent. It looks like a serpent, looks like a snake. This is this high emotional energy, right? So think about a snake, right? The snake has duality in it. You think about a Cancer, right? So somebody living a double life, or bad intentions, or somebody who is truly able to, step into their emotional mindset and get knowledge, because serpents are about knowledge, and serpent is also about health. So sometimes around this time you can have some things come up around your health, so you need to be very careful. That serpent energy is about working on, I always say work on your Kundalini energy, which is your chakras, right? So this will be a good time in the middle of the month around your retrogrades, tap in. This is a high time in reference of control tactics coming in on the 18th through the 20th. Remember, I was telling y'all how the July the 20th is going to be kind of crazy. We'll get into that. Okay, but this also brings in a time of reflection, okay, a time of healing. This is a time where it's good maybe for you to do work with your herbs and do your Reikis and all these type of things. A time to do your shadow work, which I always talk about doing your shadow work, not just this time, but all the time. Okay, but this is still a good time, right? Stepping back from doing a lot of communication that could go haywire. 18 is Dion energy. So we know that's all about your security of things. So you want to pay attention to the security around your homes, the things that you're talking about. Make sure you're maintaining your your security around yourself. This is a good time of rehabilitation. If you needing to rehabilitate something, go into rehabilitation, get therapy. Maybe if you have any type of addiction, this is a good time for you to take care of the mental well-being. This is a good time for you to tap into things that maybe you want to get into. Owning something like a business or ownership is really good. Owning a house. These are the things, right? But also, this is a good time for you to understand that karma spins the box. This is a good time for you to understand about the do's and the don'ts. This is a good time for you to work on your mental well-being, your mental health, okay? And operate out of integrity, because this energy on the 18th, even though it's Mercury retrograde, but it's coming in with Mercury, which Mercury is about technology again, and it's about even father aspect of things. So we could see a lot of things happening around the mental health of fathers. Okay, so you want to be mindful of that. Suicidal type energy very strong during this time, right? People sacrificing you and sacrificing themselves. So you got to be very careful. Pay attention to assaults and things like that happening, because people are very emotional and people lose their mind during this time. That's why the mental energy of Dion is very strong. It's very Saturn's moon. It's very moon element, which is all about emotional trauma and drama. So we got to be very careful. And when it coming in with that sidereal and Cancer, this is a trying time. Very high emotional time. Moving into that July the 20th, right? July the 20th is when we have the Mars in the sharp and fiery south lunar node, which is K2, will be together in the exact degrees in the sidereal of Leo. Okay, this is when it get real. All right, this is a very, very, very volatile conjunction. Okay, we thought the Saturn and the Neptune conjunction is pretty bad too, right? And I want to say that one is coming. The Saturn and Neptune conjunction is 7 degrees Pisces. This could bring in some type of nuclear situation when it comes to the war stuff. It's also going to have a lot to do with our it's going to have a lot to do with gas and oils, things like that. The Middle East is known for that type of energy family. So gas and oil may wind up going up as well. It's a lot that's going to be happening for the rest of this year, family. A lot, right? A lot of things happening in reference of different countries, Russia, China, Japan, all these places, right? War and leadership, all this stuff conjuncting and all these planets. This is a lot of challenging, tense times, family. That's why now is not a great time to be traveling. And I'm going to give y'all the dates too before I get off of here, because I did get them. Okay, but now is not a good time, as I always, and I've been telling my child this, but some people don't really truly tap into the planetary alignment and believe in spiritual messages and astrology and astronomy to know that this shit is real. And when we tell you about this, and when you see all these messengers on this platform telling you guys with the warning sign, you better take heed, because it ain't no joke. Okay, it's all written, family. It's all written. And Phobos energy in the 7 degrees with that Saturn and Neptune conjunct, that already tell you it's intense energy. Okay. Okay. So, what else was I telling you guys? I had some work over here. Okay. Let's get back to what I was telling you about with July the 20th, though, right? So the sidereal of Leo for Saturn, for South Node, K2, and Mars. So it's likely for us to see some type of sudden, violent world events, as I told you, okay? Whether it's some type of blow up, something, okay? I don't know. Moving into the 24th is that new moon. Now, around the new moon, as we've been discussing with my spiritual family, some people be like, oh, new moon is about bringing in new beginnings and all of this and this lovely energy. Yeah, well, the new moon is just another peak of the moon. The duality of the moon is it can bring havoc too. And I feel that's where it's going to bring. So the new moon is on the 24th of July, coming after that 20th that I told you that K2 and Mars connects in Leo. And we know Leo energy is what? The lioness. Leo energy. And it's on the 20th. So the 20th is definitely Titan's energy. All right. And I'm getting into spiritual astrology mixed in with this Vedic and true sidereal, right? But know that force of energy is all about something repeating a cycle. So this has happened before, something that has happened before. I'm picking up on Germany, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Brazil, Russia, France, states of New Hampshire and Louisiana, places like that. The country of Georgia. All right. These are all the places that we will see things that will happen in reference of some type of revenge on the opposition. We may see Iran and Israel and United States, all of these countries into some type of situation during this time. It's because that's that devil's energy sitting there, and it's manipulated with Mars and K2 family. Leo's energy is very strong and confident in reference of what this can, what, who and what is going to try to come after others and what they may try. Remember, it's also about money because it's about compensation. Leo energy conjunct with Mars and all of that. Leo is about the law of compensation. So what gives to others should be given to you. So, and what you are without from others should be withheld from you. That's the energy of Leo. Leo is about battlefield. Leo is about the soldier and the warriors, and it's about good judgment and not having good judgment. It's a good time to combat this energy. You working with Archangel Michael. I will say that, working with Archangel Michael. Okay, that Mars energy family is about foreign. It's foreign events. So this is going to be foreign countries and so forth. That's going to bring this energy around the 20th of July through the 20th of the ending of the month. I'm gonna say of July. We're going to see a lot. We're going to see a lot of energy around major events, even forecast of weather, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, that fiery element of things, something that blows up, volcano eruptions, things of that sort. We're going to see all of that. Okay. Mars and K2 in Leo. Okay. Fire, lioness. Okay. Just to let you know. And going back to some of that energy, some of the states to look for: California, Wyoming, Vermont, Massachusetts, Ohio, and Oakland. I'm sorry, Oklahoma. We could see a lot of these foreign events happen in that energy. Okay. Just be very careful. Europe and North Korea. I'm also hearing North Korea. I'm seeing elements of Europe as well. This is still in the transmutation of energy. Okay. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy is the law that rules Mars. So this is somebody trying to change the outcome to a situation. This is mercy. We're going to need mercy because of the deception that's coming through on this element of someone that is trying to make uncomfortable situations for the revenge on the opposition. That's what we'll see. Okay, so not that's for all astrology. That's for the astronomy. That's for the planetary alignment. Okay, so going into that new moon, which is sidereal in Cancer. See how this Cancer element is sitting on a lot of July, and that Cancer element attached to the Mars, the Saturn, the Neptune, all this water energy. That makes people's emotional, right? And emotional makes people not think right. And that messes with the mental stability. So see, what will come will be because people's emotions messes with their mental instability overall. That is the name of the game. And ego with leadership. Okay, and many different foreign elements that come into play with this fiery aspect to it. That's the name of the game. Okay, I don't know how else to tell you, but no, the new moon in on the 24th of July carries the energy for the next 30 days. So that's until August the 24th. Okay, so that is the theme of things. So Saturn is prominent influence on the new moon for numerous of reasons. The lunar mansion of Pusha, where the new moon occurs, is governed by Saturn. So that new moon on the 24th in Cancer Sidereal is in the lunar mansion, the nakshatra of Pusha, which is governed by Saturn. And Saturn, family, takes us back to that restrictive energy. Okay. Um, Saturn is about, it's harsh. It's situational awareness too. So we must use our intuition. We must use our discernment. We must make good decisions around this time for your everyday situations. But not only that, we'll see a lot happen in reference of water. Okay, we'll see a lot of things happen in reference of power, United Nations. That's Aries. Saturn in the spiritual astrology carries Aries energy as well, which takes us back to greed and envy. It takes us back to pride and all these different things, and things happening because of people's father's side. So how they react is because of their lineage on their father's side. You see, it goes deep, or I could go deeper. But anyways, I'm gonna keep it very, very light. We could start seeing things come up in reference of Saudi Arabia very strongly with that Saturn energy in Australia. Kidnappings, assaults, violence, deaths, a lot of things, family. Your money, the market, the real estate market, the stock markets, all could start fluctuating and going down. Um, this is the time. This is the time. Okay, this is the time. All right, India, um, definitely the United Kingdom, Ohio, a lot of these states and places that I've already listed in countries, a lot will be affected. Um, so back to what was written about this situation in the verdict. Saturn will be retrograde. So it's going to be very powerful. And look at how powerful it's going to be on that new moon, family. So the sense of spilling over in that type of nakshatra, it just means that it's going to be very, very potent Saturn energy, which is all about constraints, people not being able to get the things that they need to get. Unless you're in alignment, you're going to know this. If not, you're not going to take heed to this. But Saturn is once again, strong over the coming weeks, right? It's all about long-term planning, family. It's about managing your resources. It's about being prepared, not scared. It's about tapping in with your ancestors and making that divine connection, doing your ancestral work right now because it is needed for your protection, for your mindset. The new moon in the nakshatra Pusha is a lunar mansion that encourages Saturn, more desirable energy to be. But Pusha has a meaning of nurturing and impulse to uplift. So under Saturn's energy, it could still shift the needs for you in reference of some things for your physical needs as well, but in a harsh, explosive way because it's Saturn goes back to Mars, right? In the numerology. So even in reference of some of you for like a current situation of caregiving for others, or maybe you caring for your children and so forth, it may be something that in that Pusha that's on Saturn for the new moon that makes you have to do something extra for that child. You may have to balance things out. Maybe that your child done got into some type of situation that may not be as good for, or may change your routine, and you have to shift and change something to be more nurturing to that child at that moment because something could go wrong. That's an example. Easiest way for me to explain it to you. Okay, so that pretty much moving into the end of the month. We'll tap into August. Okay, let me give you the dates of non-travel. July 2nd, which is already passed, July the 11th, the 20th, the 29th, August the 1st, the 10th, the 19th, and the 21st. 8th. And I'll go into more of these dates later on, but I just wanted to give you July and August. And when I do the full moon, I'll give you those messages. I mean, these dates again, okay? But just to reiterate, July, do not travel on the 2nd, the 11th, the 20th, or the 29th. I'm gonna also throw in there on the 18th. This would not be a good time either. All right. All right, family. I'm sorry I was a little long. I hope you made it to the end. If you did, put a fire sign in the comments to let me know that you understand what's coming with these planetary alignments in the month of July. It will be very fiery energy. It will be very restrictive energy. It will be a lot that is going to be happening. All right. Much love to you. I'll see you guys soon. And I'll be coming to do the full moon reading soon. Peace, family. Peace.